and it's intercepted. Shaquille Griffin makes an incredible play. Holden looks out of the gun, runs the option, keeps it. He is into the end zone for the Knights touchdown.
Welcome to Knightline Post-Game Live. When the clock expires, we go live. Knight Nation's only post-game call-in show goes live now.
All right, hello Knight Nation. This is Andrew Phegley, and this is Knightline Post-Game Live. We are coming from the Burger U on the campus of UCF. I want to say special thanks right off the top to Travis Dever and the Dever team for supporting Knightline. Looking for a new home or a getaway? Travis and his team have what you're looking for in the New Smyrna Beach area. Check out the Dever team today at www.deverteam.com. All right, so what a game today. Ken joins me. He joined me last week. I never remember your last name, Ken.
It's Ken Knuckles.
Ken Knuckles. All right. Well, Ken is here, and Trace will be calling in a little while from Annapolis, Maryland, and he is currently getting post-game sound from the head coach and the UCF players, and will phone in shortly. I will remind you that Knightline Post-Game Live is the only post-game show which you are the star of the show, and you can call in. We have a couple calls on the line right now. The phone number is 407-401-9184, 407-401-9184. Oh, and whoever was on the phone hung up. So, well, Ken, 31-21 UCF over Navy today. What do you think?
I think this was a piece of history, first of all.
Absolutely.
First time that our team has been 6-0 in program history. Also, first time we played a service academy. And
Absolutely.
I think we have another caller.
Yeah, let's take this call. Hey, you're on Knightline. Where are you calling from? What's your name? Oh, that didn't last long. Try again, my friend. Try again. That didn't work.
Well, so we had that bit of history, and also I think it was very good for the team to run into such a disciplined opponent.
Absolutely.
Navy, we always knew that the two big things about them was going to be their...
This is a very
here
important
we go.
call. We have to take this one. Nick Patty joins us. Nick, what did you think of that? Former UCF quarterback Nick Patty, by the way.
Yeah, what a win, man. That was exciting. That was, I think, something we all sort of anticipated happening. Awesome win. Man, they got to be happy about that. It's exciting.
Yeah, thank you for calling, by the way. I set that up a little bit earlier. So, Nick, what about we were just starting to talk about the history a little bit of this. UCF has never been 6-0 in football, and it's a huge thing tonight.
Oh, man, this is the win that, will sort of catapult us into being in the conversation. I mean, I think this is the win that'll sort of put you in a serious, mindset of, being focused on finishing this season out, and just an exciting time, man. I mean, that is a win that you want to see from those guys, just gritting it out. It's that whole game, you could tell that these guys are very focused on the task at hand. You got to be proud of the squad for pulling that out and being a gritty team and really just, fighting through that whole battle there.
We talked about this last week and how much of a big test that this was going to be, a test with this triple option that is just an incredible thing. It's not a new thing by any means, but boy, does it ever throw you off a little bit. But they handled it quite well, actually. They did get burned over the top for a pass or two, but overall they really handled it quite well. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think, they handled it fairly well. I mean, I think you see there was some times I think we could have had some stops. I think there was some times that you want the defense to sort of stand up and have some stops there that would have changed the course of that game. There was a time in the second half. I think in the first half, not sure if it was one or two punts we forced, but in the second half, late into the second half, I think we only forced maybe one punt, if that. I think there was a time late we didn't force a punt until midway or through the fourth quarter. And there were some times you just, you want them to stand up and give our offense the ball and sort of put the game away before it, gets to the point where you're it's comfortable. But in the end, the defense steps up, gets a big pick there at the end, and solidifies it. It was awesome. I mean, I think, this was a test, and one that, we all sort of anticipated happening. And, we said it earlier this week on the podcast, sort of talking about anticipating the game. And it's like Novocaine. It puts you to sleep, and they bang you over the top. And it's hard for those DBs to get real interested in the pass game against a team like this. But they did a good job overall. And, shoot, man, Knights win, right?
Absolutely.
Huge win.
I think that it's kind of a big deal that their quarterback went out at one point there. Looks like a concussion for him. He never returned. How big of a deal was that for this game?
I think it was huge. I was just, when that happened, I was thinking back to their team last year. And they had their quarterback of last year go out, and Zach Abbey had to step in for him. And he was in the same situation last year when their quarterback went down. And I may be misspeaking, but I think it may have been in the conference championship game. And so they were in a similar situation last year, and I may be correct on exactly when, but it was in a big moment. And so their team had a similar situation. And so I think team-wide, they have adapted to that before. They know what that's like. But obviously the quarterback that was put in there has never been in that situation. And so that's a big thing for them. We talked about that on the podcast, leading up to this week on maybe if that were to happen to us. We got a little glimpse of that, for a little bit there early on. But that happened, for the other team in the long haul. And, that's a big thing. I don't care what kind of offense you run. When the signal caller goes down, that changes your offense. And, it's a huge win for the Knights. You don't discredit what they did at all, but it absolutely, is an advantage for the opposing team when the quarterback goes down.
Absolutely. So my friend Ken is here tonight with us. I think he's got something to ask you, Nick.
Yeah, Nick. Question for actually both you and Andrew, since you both have played the game. As a fan, I always feel like when you win one of these games that's closer than you'd like, it's sort of a character builder for the team. Do you agree with that, or do you think it sometimes can be detrimental to a team to win a game like this?
Go ahead.
Yeah, you want to kick that off, Andrew?
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Nick. No, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, I would 100% agree with you that this is the kind of game that builds character and that gives you sort of a foundation as a team. I think going into this game, I don't know that anyone really thought that we'd blow Navy out of the water. They're a good football team. They have characteristics as a team that are sort of complementary of playing this type of game. I think the Knights played a great game today. They were efficient on offense when they had the ball. The defense, though they played a great game on defense, still showed some weaknesses in the run game that, that they'll be able to fix moving forward. Obviously not with this offense, but just as a whole. And so I think as a team, when you're in a game like this where it got at points to a nut-cutting time, if you will, a time where you kind of have to grit your teeth and bear down as a team and sort of focus on it, how much time you got left, and you get to practice those situations where it's time management, ball management, whatever it may be. And so regardless of who you're playing or what it is, when these games come to 7 or 10 point deficits, it absolutely is a benefit to a team moving forward. And you get those, experiences where it's, hey, we've been here before. We've been in a fight before. Navy's a great team with some hard-nosed dudes. And so moving forward, I think this plays a huge, huge benefit for the Knights, and in those guys just being able to look back on this experience and saying, hey, we've had to grit our teeth before. We've had to sort of take a step back. I think even at, a guy to sort of zero in on an individual, as much as we praise Mackenzie Milton this season, he looked good today, but at times you get to a certain circumstance where it's like, okay, we need a drive here, maybe put this game away. And you see him maybe show some humanality and maybe trying to press a little too much, maybe throwing an interception, making a decision that he hasn't made this year. And so moving forward, I think that'll make, play huge benefits for them in just saying, okay, we've been here before. We're a little more comfortable here because it hasn't been a bunch of blowouts. Even Noah getting some experience in a difficult time, like we talked about earlier this week. And it'll be huge. I think, long story short, I think it'll be huge for the Knights to have a tough win, a gritty win. And so, yes, I think that's a huge benefit for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was definitely that. Nick, thank you very much for calling in, man. I want to save some of what you have to say for Sunday, for tomorrow, because we're going to talk to you then, of course, as well. You are on every week with us, and we greatly appreciate it, and we will talk to you tomorrow, okay?
No doubt. Can't wait. A lot to talk about this week. Can't wait to talk to you guys tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for calling in, man. Appreciate it.
No doubt. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. See ya. All right. Well.
Yeah, Andrew, he was talking about us giving up more yards than we're accustomed to giving up on the ground. But Navy had 248 yards of rushing this game. Now, yes, that sounds like a lot, but they have been averaging nearly 400 yards of rushing every game.
Right.
So we held them under 100 yards below their average.
So what that means, even though it looked a little porous at times for UCF, that means that we have a heck of a defense.
Yes, absolutely.
And we've been saying that, of course, for forever. We got another phone call here. Let's take that. Hey, you're on Knightline. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello.
Hey, it's Chris from Toronto.
Hey, Chris, what's going on, man? What did you think of that tonight?
You know what? I'm taking the win and I'm heading home. I'm happy to get out of there.
Absolutely. So what was the thing that was the most impactful to you during this game?
Mackenzie Milton not being sidelined with a hamstring injury for the season.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, that was one of the things we were cringing. I was sending little GIF images of nails being bitten and stuff like that to Trace. So I was worried about that, but and then Noah Vetterell had to come in for that one play. Thank goodness it was only one play or whatever, but maybe two plays. But I
think we can thank our stars. We got out of there healthy. We got a 10-point win against a top 30 team on the road that runs a very, very unique and difficult offense. I think we can count our blessings and just move on to next week that we're healthy.
So you have some history with this team as well. You played for this team, back in the day. How big is this 6-0? It's huge.
Never in our history.
Yeah, it's huge.
Never in our history, and it's not easy to, UCF, unlike some schools to the southwest of us, we have never played easy schedules. We've always taken all comers. We've always gone out of our way to play like way over our heads. So this 6-0 is, it's well deserved. It's hard earned, and it's representative of the great team that we have.
Absolutely, absolutely. Chris, thank you for calling, man. We really appreciate it.
I just wanted to comment that looking at our stats, we actually outrushed Navy. And it had a better 5.9 yards per carry, and Navy had 4.2, and we actually rushed for more yards. So I thought that was a great job by the defense. Secondary, I'm glad this is the last game we'll have without Neville Clark, because we can definitely use some more support back there. And just go Knights, rest everybody up for next week, get another W, and get down to the end of our schedule and wait for that Black Friday matchup.
So, Chris, you're calling from Canada. What's the weather like up there?
It's nice. It's like 70-something degrees up here now.
Really?
We've got a late summer. So
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to...
I'm going to the beach. I'm going to the beach tomorrow, so that'll tell you what the weather's like.
So it hasn't snowed yet.
No, we're probably at least, snow could come at any minute up here, but we're probably at least a month or so away from snow.
All right, man. Thanks for calling. We really appreciate it, as always.
I appreciate the job you guys do, man. So
All right.
nice.
Charge on.
Charge
Take
on.
it easy. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break here, but very soon we have Trace is going to be calling in from Annapolis. He's getting the reaction from the coach and players, so very soon we will do that. Let's hear this quick message from our sponsors real quick.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline and Knightline Post Game Live. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
All right, welcome back. Of course, this is Post Game Live, Knightline Post Game Live, and we are coming to you from Burger U. Our phone number, by the way, is 407-401-9184, 407-401-9184. Got a little tongue-tied there. Of course, Trace is going to be calling in, but we have another phone call real quick. Let's take that one. Hey, you're on Knightline. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Matt down in Fort Myers. What's going on, guys?
Hey, how are you doing? What'd you think? What'd you think?
Fantastic time, man. We went bananas on that hit because I honestly saw that drive. Navy was driving. We really couldn't stop them, and I was like, yeah, this is our season right here. This is our game, and the defense stepped up toward the end. I think this was a good test, and it's funny because all the boards and everyone on Twitter, and we're talking about the Black Friday matchup, and this is what I was afraid of, that we're gonna look ahead, keep looking ahead, and lay it goose. But they stepped up. I think I was kind of disappointed. The defense, I know it's a very difficult offense to prepare for, but I think they could have been trained up a little bit more. There were a couple of sloppy plays, again with the missed tackling and the penalties, and even Jennifer, my wife, was like, wow, we get a lot of penalties, and she's like, that's going to hurt us in a bigger game. That's going to come down to 20 yards penalties versus 80 yards penalties. But overall, man, this is, I think, what we needed. What everyone's saying is we need to be pushed up. Next week we have an easier opponent, but we needed to play and get pushed to our competition. So I think it was a good game, very exciting. And man, if this was at home, I would love to see the fans actually stay in the stands till the end of the fourth quarter. So
yeah, absolutely, yeah. I think everybody was holding on to this one, and really, Burger U was crazy. There was tons of people here. It was crazy. Everybody was screaming and yelling, and at one point, the younger group of fans were singing the na 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 hey goodbye thing, and all that, and
they were starting that in the middle of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they were starting that in the middle of the fourth quarter, and I was like, all right, it might be a little early for that, but obviously the confidence of the fans was definitely up at that point. But I just wanted to caution them, anything can happen with a team like this, and I think UCF handled this incredibly today, running for a lot of yards, passing for quite a few yards. I think the defense did a very respectable job. I know that a lot of people may be disappointed from, the 248 rushing yards that they had, but this team, like Ken here had been saying, had been rushing for 400 yards. So this is a very respectable job that they did. And Navy does not get beaten at home. I mean, this is the first time since 2014.
Exactly.
So
it was 17 or 18 games, right? What Brandon posted?
I think it's 17, 17 games is what I remember reading. That's a big deal. I mean, this team, I think that this team, and I've said this before, and people may think I'm crazy, but I think this team goes far and beyond what if we had a chance for the BCS. And I've said this before. I wish that there was still a BCS, because I think this team would go far and beyond what that Blake Bortles team did in 2012.
They're in some aspects they're light years, man, and the offense, and hopefully it looked like McKenzie that you're just going to hear on the TVs, but it's McKenzie's hamstring. Is that what they said?
It looked like that, but I mean he came out there. It obviously he didn't run around as much, so he's got a week here to get that better, and those things can be taken care of in a week with the modern medicine of college football. So I'm not worried about that.
I got one last comment. Next time you talk to Patty, man, he is so cool, calm, and collective. All the interviews, nothing. He's just, we won. That was a good man. I would love to see him during the games if he gets riled up, because he just seems so cool, man. So
I think he's he's cool like that anyway. I just think that's his deal. And
we were jumping around, we were hugging, man. We went crazy. I thought they were gonna just kick us out, but
I'll ask him about that. I'll ask him about that tomorrow.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk to him tomorrow. So.
Sounds good, guys. I'm gonna turn on the hopefully the green waves, and I'm so torn because I don't know if I want them to win out or just lose, because I just can't stand them. So I'll be happy either way.
I think that game starts at 8, right? Is that right, or are they on
Oh no,
already?
it started. Yeah.
Oh, it started already. Okay, maybe we can get one of these TVs switched to that.
Yeah, and Tulane is driving. So.
Well, Tulane runs that a triple option as well, I believe, or an offense very close to that. So
they're a Navy light, from all their stats and all. They look very similar. They're just not as developed as Navy.
Any given Saturday, my friend. Any given Saturday. So I think that team could be beaten. So hopefully it's Tulane. We'll see.
There you go. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
We appreciate it. All right, so let me just reiterate real quick. Our number is 407-401-9184. 407-401-9184. I'm sure we will have a phone call here in just a second. My phone system gives me one every 30 seconds when there's somebody. So you have like about 10 seconds.
Okay. He was talking about the penalties, and the one thing I noticed, we had 7 penalties for 55 yards. So, yes, that was more than Navy had, but we brought that number and the yardage down this week, which was important against such a disciplined opponent.
Absolutely. Let's take this phone call. See, I told you had about 10 seconds. Hey, you're on Knightline. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Stephen from Oviedo.
Hey, Stephen, how you doing? Very close by in Oviedo.
Yes. Oh, I think my fingers hurt. The tips of my fingers, my nails.
Absolutely.
From chewing on it.
I'm doing well. So I know you guys probably got several callers coming in, so I'll make this one brief. Overall, I'm happy with the result. My father is a huge Notre Dame fan, so he kept running his suck about how Navy was going to be tough, and because they played Navy every single year, and that he thought that Navy was gonna take a beating to UCF. So I'm happy to be able to stuff him in his face, and if we do better than they do against Navy, then I'll make sure that I reinforce that. But
absolutely.
But overall, I'm happy with the game. Happy to see that McKenzie came out okay. I still think that he's injured. I think that there's something going on with his leg, because you could definitely tell he wasn't as mobile as he normally is. So there's something going on there, and hopefully, he doesn't really play much, if at all, on the Austin Peay game.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. That would, a game like that would be perfect to just sit him and let. I don't like what that would do for his stats, because honestly, I think he needs to pad those stats, because I think honestly, seriously, I know people are going to think I'm crazy for this, but McKenzie really could be in that Heisman race. He could be. If not this year, definitely next year. He has to be on that list, because it's the number one offense in the entire country.
And I believe that CBS Sports was making a point at the end of the game to say that he was still the most efficient quarterback in the country.
Absolutely,
So
he's
still got great numbers, great ratios.
Right. So
Yeah.
Like I said, I would be more than happy to have him sit if he's hurt, and we could see what Noah could do. We could also see what a bunch of other guys could do. And, you know, the thing is also, though, you cannot take this Austin Peay team lightly. Just because they play in the FCS, you cannot take this game lightly. This is a big game.
Yeah.
All games are big.
Ask LSU.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So, yeah, you got to be careful with stuff like that. If McKenzie's hurt, though, this is definitely the time to do it. So
yeah, well, if we run up, if he does play and we have the opportunity to run up the score, several scores in the first quarter, then I think that would be the prime opportunity to go ahead and pull him and let his hamstring rest. But you could tell that he was running in maybe stuck in third gear.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, yeah, he wasn't, and in this offense is clearly different when he's not completely mobile like he normally is.
Absolutely.
My biggest complaint is, and I know that we were really focusing on the rushing, but those three, we got burned 3 times, and each one of those 3 turned into touchdowns. I don't know what's going on with the corners in the secondary, but it's like they weren't even paying attention. I mean, they literally.
Yes, but if you watch Navy games and you watch and see what happens, this is exactly what happens with this offense. That's what this entire offense is designed to do. You get so it's tunnel vision. You get so focused on the running game that you forget about those passes. They throw it maybe 6 times a game, if that, and you know
each one of them was golden. They freaking dashed us.
And that's what normally happens. It's nothing. I don't think it's anything that we have done wrong. I think that's their offense working perfectly, and so I love you, but I disagree with you on that.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about that.
They mesmerize you. They lull you.
This will transition. I'm glad you say that, but that's going to transition into my next comment. I'm glad that you guys support that. Okay, a lot of people keep talking about how on the boards, and I'm hearing it on the phone already, we've held Navy to XXX. Well, that may be true. However, we provided Navy the most passing yards this entire season. So had we not done that, their rushing yards probably would have been higher. But we, in this game, have provided Navy the most passing yards of the season.
171 passing yards.
That's probably why their rushing yards are as low as they are.
Good point.
I won't say a 100. It is definitely a contributing factor to the fact that their rushing yards are low is because we just provided them the highest passing yard stat. I mean, Memphis provided them 20 passing yards. 20.
Right. Good point. That was a good point. You're right.
Yeah. So there's a caveat. There's a caveat to that. I mean, it's great. I think we held them to the second least rushing yards of the season. You know, and they beat us by 1 rushing yard more than us.
Right.
But we also just patted the heck out of their passing yards. I honestly don't know if we would have pulled the game out had their quarterback been not been injured.
I think it would have been a different game. I think that we probably still would have pulled it off, but I think that it would have been a lot closer. And I think it probably would have been down to the last possession, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that was a gift from whoever gives the injury gods, I guess. So hopefully, we can stay healthy and he can get healthy and all that stuff because, we don't wish harm on anybody. We don't wish for things
not at
to,
all.
especially.
He was pretty clear of mind walking around.
I will
he didn't
say,
really look like he was confused.
Yeah.
I think they were just doing the safety sake.
Oh, he was confused when he was laying on the field. I can guarantee.
No, when he was on the field, it's like I don't think he realized what game he was in.
Yeah, I wish they would have showed his eyes.
Put a licking on him.
I wish they would have showed his eyes because he was probably pretty cross-eyed at that point. But especially a service member. All of these guys, and this is the thing, and I was so glad not to hear during the national anthem. I have to talk about this. I was glad not to hear Knights in the middle of the national anthem. I like that.
Well, I
do. But you're a service guy, right?
I am. I mentioned it. Yeah, I am. I mentioned it in a couple different areas. Listen, personally, I'll never say Knights just because I stand at the position of attention. Sometimes I salute, but most of the time I stand at the position of attention, not even have my hand over my heart. I stand at the position of attention because that's what you're supposed to do. as a service member when in civilian clothes.
And especially, we don't have a lot of experience playing these service academies. So when you do that, your fans just have to learn what's going on. Your team has to learn what's going on. These people, these players are some of the guys that are going to be out there defending our country at some point. They are.
Exactly.
And that
so
needs to be.
I mentioned on the board. Yeah, I mentioned on the boards. Listen, I mean personally, if you want to, I think it's kind of cool. You know, I don't have a problem with it. I don't think it's disrespectful. I actually think it's
not at
cool.
a Navy game.
But no, because there is tradition and protocol.
Right.
And when you're at a service academy, it's not a normal college. You're at a service academy, and there is a specific protocol that takes place at these service academies, and you have to honor the tradition. You know, when in Rome. You know that phrase, when in Rome.
Yep.
You know, and when in Rome, they hold certain traditions and protocols to high standard. And so, you know, that's just, and I'm happy that nobody did that. I was listening, you know, and you just have to, people just have to be cognizant of whose home you're in, you know, and I know a lot of times, you know, when we're in USF's home, USF can pound sand for all I care.
Right.
But if I'm in a service academy, I don't care what service academy it is, traditions and protocol are paramount.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I was happy that everybody respected that. I was extremely proud of the team that they would stand behind Navy when Navy was singing their alma mater.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I just
did not
graduated
see
from
that. I was setting up my gear. I did not see that, but that's cool.
Yes, the team went behind Navy while they sang their alma mater. I just graduated from a Naval Postgraduate Service Academy, so you know, I had as an Army officer, I had the opportunity to be with Navy brethren. So when Army beat Navy, I was around tons of Navy people. So nothing made me happier than to scream "Go Army" at the end of that game.
Absolutely.
You know, but you know, I mean, we're all brothers in arms, regardless of branch of service, and you know, and I'm proud of all those guys. You know, it's an outstanding game, and you know, this was definitely a tradition that I hope to continue to see.
All right, Stefan, thank you for your call, my friend, and thank you for your service. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your service, sir.
All right, you guys have a good evening, and go Knights.
All right, take it easy. Charge on. All right, real quick again, we're going to play. I need to play another commercial from our sponsors here real quick, and then we will be right back, and hopefully Trace will be joining us. 407-401-9184 in case he forgot. 407-401-9184. We'll be right back. You've heard us talk about the great food at our good friend Kyle Israel's restaurant, The Little Greek Fresh Grill. The Little Greek now has franchises available. Please call 407-697-2272. That's 407-697-2272 to see what The Little Greek can do for you. Also check out The Little Greek's newest location at 3131 Daniels Road, Suite 104, Winter Garden, Florida. The Little Greek Fresh Grill. Fresh, flavorful, fabulous. All right, welcome back to Knightline Postgame Live. We've got a couple people holding on the phone. We are at Burger U out here. There's still food going. There's still drinks going. Burger U has some of the best burgers ever. Burger U has an incredible beer selection. I mean,
oh yeah, it's great beer.
Our friend Ken
Knuckles.
I don't know why I can't remember that. I'm bad about that. Anyway, we're still waiting for Trace to call in, but we've got so many phone calls. That guy just hung up too. Why is it when I get ready to talk on the phone, people hang up? You have to understand with the phone system, guys, it's a first come, first serve, and you're all in there the entire time, and we get them in order. So if you're calling, just because we're not picking up, don't hang up, because you lose your spot.
Well, Stefan was talking about the passing yards, and you have mentioned several times last week and leading up through tonight how Navy passes for about 6 times a game. Tonight they attempted 14 passes.
All right.
So we forced them to throw the ball more.
Forced them to throw a little bit more. All right, let's take this one. Hey, you're on Knightline. What's going on? Where are you calling from? What's your name?
Hey, Andrew, it's Night Bengal and Carson calling from Maryland.
All right, Night Bengal and Carson with you. Carson Ingalls with you too, huh?
No.
Or no, your son, Carson. Your son. That's right. I'm sorry. I apologize. Your son, Carson, as well. I apologize. Tell him I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was with Carson Engel consequently earlier with the tailgate. So
I figured you
UCF
probably
really took
were.
over.
That's why I said that. So,
Oh, okay.
what did you think about that? What do you think about the game tonight? What was the experience?
Well, that was interesting.
What was the experience like being there as well? That's what I want to know.
Well, there was a couple of things that I'd say about that. One, we had the F-18 flyover was cool, but the parachutists coming in with a giant American flag, I mean, that felt, it really stirred you. And then all the people that were around us were prior military service. So they were super nice, very appreciative. They knew about us. They knew about UCF, which was really cool. Seeing all the midshipmen, I almost said cadets, that's Army. Seeing all the midshipmen on the field marching and seeing them on the sidelines, it was awesome. It was really quiet until like the third quarter, and they realized they were still in it. From what I talked to with everyone, they really were expecting to get blown out. So, after they got into it in the third quarter, it got pretty loud in the stadium. But the weather was beautiful. The stadium was beautiful. The people were super nice. They were very welcoming of us as UCF fans. They knew quite a bit about us, and, we tried to be on our best behavior. So there was no night. I know you guys probably didn't get to watch the first kickoff or listen to the anthem because it's on another CBS channel. But it was we did not call out the night during the anthem. And the other cool thing was Frost, I don't know if anybody mentioned this, but Coach actually had the entire team, the staff, and everyone at the end of the game when Navy was playing their alma mater. They all ran over to the field, and they actually sang it with them, which I thought was a nice touch.
That's awesome. Yeah, we were just talking to Stefan, which you probably didn't hear because you were waiting on the line. But we were just talking about all. Yeah, it's cool. It's something that happens while we're on YouTube, and you're doing it on your phone or whatever. So yeah, it's all good. But yes, I thought that was huge, to be honest with you, especially the players and the staff going over there and standing with them and singing their alma mater at least. That's cool. That's the way that it should be, and I'm very proud of Knight Nation for acting the way that they did. So
I agree with that. And before, and I'll say this, as far as tailgating was concerned, there was a couple of lots that the parking is very sparse around there. But the area we were at the elementary school was full of Knight fans, and the actual area around the stadium, hats off to the Navy fans. They did a really good job with that. It was completely packed all the way around the stadium.
Awesome.
Excellent.
I think when you have people that are so, I can't think of the word, involved with their program, that's not only, a football, it's not just a school. That's it's a totally different thing. So I think, they have a huge fan base. I'm surprised they don't have a much bigger stadium than that. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Night Bingle, for calling. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, the other cool thing about their stadium was they had a grassy area within the stadium. So if you ever get a chance to go up here and sit in that area, it's really cool because you can bring out a picnic blanket and sit out there. And it's actually built into the stadium, and there's seats behind it. So it's not built into the ground. They actually put dirt and grass up there so you can do that.
Nice. I think they were showing on TV the kids sliding down it on cardboard boxes or something. I think that's where that was. They were showing it a couple times. All right, I'm going to try to get you off the line and see if we can get Trace in here. So thank you for calling, man. Carson, I apologize if you're listening. I will make it up to you, my man. I apologize.
All right.
Thank you for calling.
All right,
Charge on.
Charge on.
All right. We're still waiting to see if we can hear from Trace. I'm sure that he's trying to call in, and somehow we got to get this worked out. But anyway, so, yeah, we've had a great amount of callers. It's been awesome. anything else that you want to talk about before we get another call?
Well, yes. Normally we talk about the obscene number of players that are catching passes and rushing for us. Tonight
All
we
right,
had 7
this one
guys.
is actually Trace.
Okay, here we go.
Trace, thank goodness you finally got in. How you doing?
Was I waiting in line behind some callers? Hey there from Annapolis. How about this victory?
Unbelievable.
Awesome.
Unbelievable.
Awesome.
What did
It was a great experience. I've been going to UCF road games for more than 20 years, and this is by far the best experience. To come out of it with a gutsy win like that, just tremendous. Post-game sound that we will have for you on the next all-new Knightline. Of course, head coach Scott Frost. We've got Adrian Killens, who Coach Frost now refers to as the eraser. and you can't beat the burst of speed that he has and how he brought a change in momentum in that game. We talked to Bam as well, and he was just, so excited to get that big turnover for UCF. Pat Jasinski talked about how it was a war in the trenches, and, UCF gave up the big pass plays, of course, but it was because they were just so stacked against the run. Overall, what a tremendous experience and a big win for UCF. Bowl eligible, but our sights are much farther than that.
Absolutely. I think it's been interesting. Ken's here with me, by the way. And
hello, Ken.
It's been interesting because the thing that we've talked about the most on the show has not been the game, but the experience of being up there in Annapolis and going to the Navy game and it being a service academy and the way the fans acted and all that stuff. I'm very proud of Knight Nation for the way that they kept it very classy and all that during that. What was the experience like of that whole thing? Like, before the game, you've been to a lot of stadiums. This has to be a very, very special thing.
A lot of tradition and a lot of respect, and that is a nice change. I'll tell you what, Knight Nation certainly was on its best behavior, but all UCF fans, all sports fans could learn from this Navy crowd. They were respectful of the opponent, and I'll tell you what, this is something that head coach Scott Frost showed in the weeks, and especially the week leading up to the game, and he spoke of it in the post-game press conference as well, how much respect he has for the Naval Academy. UCF players, I don't know how long it extended on the television broadcast, but they joined Navy in their alma mater at the end in the song, and they were joined together, and just a tremendous show of respect. That was what really stood out to me. All of the tradition, from the flyover to the parachuting, everything was just first class and run just first rate by the Naval Academy.
Absolutely awesome. I'm very happy to hear that. We got a lot to talk about tomorrow on the show on an all-new Knightline. We've talked to Nick Patty tonight. He called in.
Oh, did you? I referenced Nick Patty while I've been up here. And there is one soundbite. I'll tell you what, I think you ought to cue it up and rerun it tomorrow on the show. A little prep for tomorrow's show is when he talked about watching Navy's offense is like Novocaine. They'll lull you to sleep, and then boom, they hit you. And boy, that's what it felt like. You just got lulled into this false sense of security at times. Okay, 2 yards, 3 yards, 7 yards, boom, pass. I'm like, geez, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So. It was exactly what we talked about. I really think with Nick, though, I did not anticipate those big pass plays. That's certainly something that caught the UCF defense by surprise. But a bend, but not a break, and they faced some adversity. We had a caller last week who asked us about what would happen when UCF faced some adversity. They had moments in that tonight, and they came out of it. So they can't rest. While there is Austin Peay coming to town, and that may be a game in which you can see a lot of players getting action, you look down the road, and boy, still heading towards that Black Friday showdown. Boy, what a game that will be.
Yeah, absolutely, Trace. As you talked about, you could tell on the replays of those pass plays that Navy had where the UCF secondary was so used to coming up to figure out who was going to run the ball, that somebody would get past them and they would be wide open, and then all the quarterback had to do is just find them out there and easy long completion. And it's like Nick Patty said, that Novocaine effect, because you're so focused on stop the run, and oh, wait, there goes the ball passing.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, it comes at an opportune time, perhaps, for Neville Clark coming off the suspension to be back in a UCF uniform, and there's going to be a fight for playing time. Now, these guys in the secondary have had 6 games on Neville Clark, and he's going to have to fight his way into some playing time. But as we've seen throughout the season, a lot of people get touches for UCF. So, they keep rotating guys in. I'll tell you a funny moment that we will share with you on the Knightline podcast Sunday night. If you are watching on the broadcast, no doubt, perhaps they made mention of Adrian Killens running into Navy's GOAT. He had a little bit of fun with that. Shaquem Griffin yelling out to him, nicknaming him maybe GOAT, at least for the night. So he's had a couple of different nicknames. Earlier, Coach Frost had referred to him as Dash, and tonight Eraser, and then Shaquem referring to him as GOAT. So, by the way, in case it's of no surprise, Adrian Killen says that's the first time he's ever collided with a GOAT.
Well, I'm sure, and I was worried about the GOAT, to be honest with you. We had talked about the GOAT earlier while we were sitting here watching the game, and I was worried about the GOAT, and then I saw Adrian Killens laying there, and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Did he just hurt himself running into a GOAT? So, yeah, absolutely. So where does that ever happen?
I've got a question for the two of you guys. Who, Trace, would you say, if you could single out anybody, who would be your MVP for this game for the UCF Knights?
Oh, boy, you know what? Sometimes that's easier, and this one was hard. I mean, I think Adrian Killens, that burst of speed and that 79-yard touchdown run was a big momentum changer. Otis Anderson came up big. Mike Hughes came up big. That big return was huge. But maybe nothing bigger than halting Navy's momentum on offense at Bam Moore's turnover. That's just huge. And we've posted polls on UCF_Knightline on Twitter, and Andrew has talked about this in particular. He just thought that the first half MVP was, the entire defense and, just the entire unit. They are playing together as a team. They have a lot of fun. And I think they learned something from this game. They faced some adversity tonight. This is the first time this season, and for some of these guys in a UCF uniform, that they've been in a close, tight game. They went down to the fourth quarter, and that's invaluable. Several that you could hand out tonight. Team win, though. Definitely a team win.
Well, I'm gonna chime in here, and I'm gonna say Pat Jasinski, because he did an incredible job. He led the team in tackles, and did an incredible job. I think he was the guy that was supposed to be covering that quarterback most of the time. So I'm gonna give it to him, because I'm gonna choose a defensive guy. So if I could choose any defensive guy, that's the guy I'm gonna give it to. I think that he is an incredibly stout player, and I'm glad that he has come around this year and really, made himself known to Knight Nation, because I don't think that he was that well known before, and I think he's doing an incredible job. So
yeah,
he is a tough dude.
Yeah, I think
yes, he is, and he echoing your comment right there, Andrew. Said that he had a great deal of respect for Navy, and he used those exact words, that they were tough dudes, and he had a lot of respect for them. And I'll tell you what, when you watch that game, and it's every single play, every single yard, every single inch Navy fights for, you've got to come out of there earning it. Though I will say on that point, Mackenzie Milton made light of his interception, that he gave them a gift on that play. But that aside, there was earning across the board for Navy on both sides of the ball.
Absolutely. I think both teams played a heck of a game. You never, ever, ever count out Navy.
No.
And, I'm very proud of UCF, of course, obviously, in this game. I think that it was an incredibly hard-fought game, and it's just perfect.
Yeah, I was going to say that I agree with you, Andrew, about Jasinski having the highest number of tackles. But for me, the turning points goes back to what Trace said with Bam Moore, and that forced fumble and then that interception. Those were two key drives where it looked like the defense wasn't going to be able to stop Navy on downs, and forcing those turnovers was the way to make sure that we held on to the lead.
Absolutely,
and were able to win.
Absolutely. Yep. So, we can run that as a Twitter poll, Trace. What do you think? Who was the MVP?
Like
we can put Moore in there. We can put Hughes in there. We can put Jasinski in there. We can put a couple of offensive players, and we'll see what people think. We should probably start doing that after every game, so just to see. It's a good conversation.
That does sound like a good poll. You may have some other callers, so I will sign off. The high cost of cheap airfare is a 6:10 in the morning flight, so I will be up early and be back with you on the new Knightline that we record Sunday. So big win for UCF. Go Knights.
Charge on. All right, I've been there on that flight. Get back carefully, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, see ya.
Safe travels. See ya. All right, so that was Trace. We finally got him in here. Let's do this real quick because we don't have very much time left. I need to play one more commercial. I know you guys hate it, but here it is.
Night Nation, now that the football season has started, you're going to need all the tailgating supplies and clothing for the rest of the season. And the best place to get all of your favorite night stuff is Fan Addicts. Please go to our website, UCFNightlinePodcast.com. Click the Fan Addicts logo to find the best selection and best prices for everything you need.
All right, back at Burger U on the UCF campus live. This is Knightline Postgame Live, and we have another phone call here. Let's take it. Hey, you're on Knightline. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Ian from Ohio.
Hey, Ian, what's going on, man? What do you think of the game tonight?
Pretty good. I didn't get to watch it. I don't get that channel, so I was listening to it on iHeartRadio. So probably a little bit different perspective. I was a little bit frustrated with the penalties we had, but I'm glad to see how the team reacted. They didn't panic when they when the score was. They were really only up by 3 at one point. Mm-hmm. They kind of kept their composure and pulled it through.
Well, yeah. Okay. I was trying to look. Do you have the penalty information, Ken, there?
Yes. UCF had 7 penalties for 55 yards versus 4 for 40 yards for Navy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're going to continue to talk about these penalties. I mean, I understand. I'm not that worried about them until it comes down to where it's important. I mean, I understand. And that's the thing that people are worried about is when it does come down to being important, are you going to have that?
Well, coming into this game, I think we were averaging somewhere or a little over 100 yards in penalties, at least in the last few games. And that was a concern to me playing against such a disciplined opponent like Navy. Now, cutting that yardage in half, yes, we still had more penalties than they did, but we brought the raw number down and we really cut that yardage down. So I think they played a much cleaner and more focused game in that standpoint.
One of the things with the penalties that I find interesting is that not a lot of them, there are a couple, but not a lot of them are personal foul type things. Mm-hmm. They're just the normal things. And that makes me happy that they're like that, and I'm glad that they're not, the personal fouls, the unnecessary roughness, all that stuff. Not a lot of pass interference. Obviously, especially in a game like this, there's not going to be a lot of pass interference, but those type of penalties worry me a lot more than the 5-yard penalties, the 10-yard penalties. It's those 15-yard penalties that we really can't afford to have, and I don't know if that makes the situation any better or not, but Ian, maybe you can respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely don't want to see the personal fouls, late hits, anything like that. I think that speaks to a greater degree of a team being undisciplined. But, and granted, it wasn't this game, but the previous game where we had 3 or 4 offsides in a row, I think that kind of makes me a little more raw to seen any penalties in subsequent games. I think I'm just a little bit more hypersensitive to it, maybe.
Right. And I think we're trying to find something too that we can be a little bit negative about as well. Where it's intensified this year because there's not a lot of negative going on here. So we have to find something.
Well, yeah, and there's so much to lose right now. You're undefeated. We have a pretty good schedule ahead of us, and I'm nervous that we're going to make some stupid mistake and suffer for it.
Absolutely, I agree.
Well, the thing I see about this team, the body language when you go to the stadium and you watch the games live, or when you watch them on TV, is how the team rallies around each other. And there's not a whole lot of all the players looking to the coaches to solve things.
Absolutely.
They look at each other to solve things, and I think that helps them all stay a little more focused and not take a team for granted. Now, Austin P., you've mentioned it before. This next week, this is the perfect trap game.
Absolutely. There's no bigger trap
for UCF
than that. Yeah, there's no bigger
because
trap.
This is a team, you should be walking all over those guys. Well, those are the kind of games, if you take your mind off the ball, those are the teams that are going to come up and play the best game of their season and steal one from you and make you look, silly.
Absolutely. Ian, thank you very much for your call, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
All right, take care.
All right, well, we've had a bunch of callers. In fact, I think we've probably had the most callers we've ever had. We will see if that phone rings in another 30 seconds. But we got about 4.5 minutes here to go. So, Ken Knuckles.
Yes.
See, I finally got your last name.
Thank you.
What are your final thoughts of this whole thing tonight, this game? Oh, look, it's going to ring. Let's take this one, because I know who this is as well.
Go ahead.
Carson Engel, how you doing?
Oh, it's great to hear you, buddy. I've just been sitting here. I've been texting back and forth with Trace, actually. But what a great win, man.
It was, absolutely. What was your biggest takeaway from this whole deal?
Yeah, you know what? I thought that really, it concerned me a little bit when McKenzie threw that interception. I thought, oh, no. Here we may go. Things may unravel here. But I thought we ran the ball really well tonight. And honestly, just to get out of Annapolis with a win against the Naval Academy is a huge step forward, I think, for the program based on how difficult it is to play Navy. The triple option certainly is a challenge that teams are just not used to when they come in here. So this was the game that on the schedule I was most concerned about. And seeing them come out with a win tonight was extremely impressive and exciting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Carson, thank you for calling. We're going to give our final thoughts here.
Okay.
What are your final thoughts with this whole thing besides what you just said?
I mean, listen, like I told you guys when I was with y'all at Burger U last week, now UCF, this was the hurdle that I thought UCF had to overcome to start talking about the bigger picture. They've done it. They're halfway to undefeated, 6-0, and you can kind of start to talk about, okay, this team is now a team that's positioning itself for a New Year's Six bowl game. So, those are my final thoughts. Very excited here. A lot of nice fans up in Annapolis that are really, really excited to be here, and love talking to you guys. So thanks for doing what you're doing, and keep rolling. Absolutely.
Thank you, Carson. We will talk to you soon. We will probably talk to you next week, hopefully here. So.
Yep, Austin P. I'll be there.
All right, man. Thank you very much for calling. Really appreciate it. We're gonna wrap this thing up.
All right, sounds good, Andrew.
Take it easy. Safe travels back. All righty. So Carson Engel called. That's awesome. I think we got like 2 minutes left. So again, Ken, what were your final thoughts?
As we said with Nick Patty, you need a character win, and for me that was the most important. I knew that with Georgia Tech being off the schedule and not seeing the triple option earlier in the season, that was going to be a huge test for us, and I was worried like you that we might see something that the guys just were not prepared for. but they passed this test, and they have passed it with flying colors, in my opinion. Yes, it's only a 10-point win, but it's a win, and that's the important thing.
Absolutely. Yep. I think that we, like everybody has said here, we've mentioned this numerous times, we had a little bit of diversity today. It was a little tighter there. They were basically able to score at will because of what they do.
Yes.
I'm not worried about the defense. What I'm really happy about in this is that we came out on top. UCF is 6-0 for the very first time. That is incredible. All of Knight Nation should be incredibly impressed by that. And, you know, this season is an absolute magical season, just like right across the street over here, what happened in that arena last year for basketball. Absolutely magical. This is absolutely magical as well, what's happening with the football team. We're looking forward to basketball being magical again. It's going to be good, the whole thing. This is a very, very special time in sports, and I'm so glad at UCF, and I'm so glad that we can do it with all of Knight Nation.
Absolutely.
It's incredible that people call in for our show, and it's great. So I really appreciate it. We've pretty much done our hour that we normally do, so I think we're going to sign off here. Thanks again to Travis Dever. Thanks again to Ken Knuckles. I'm sorry if you're waiting on the phone. Next week after Austin Peay, 30 minutes after the game, we will be here again on YouTube. And we have a show coming up that will be out late Sunday night, early Monday morning. New episode of Knightline. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate Trace calling us from Annapolis. All of Knight Nation that is in Annapolis, have safe travels back, and we will see you later. I'm Andrew Phegley for Trace Trylko.
And Ken Knuckles.
Go Knights and charge on.